Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Crypto Leviathan podcast. I'm your host Dalibor. This is Andrew. So on today's show, we'll be talking about some common scams in crypto because it's been a requested feature. And we're also going to be discussing how to survive crypto winters. And for anyone who doesn't know what a crypto winter is, it's essentially when there is low trading volume and we're not in a bull market in crypto. So Andrew, you want to start off? Have you seen anything interesting lately?
In relation to scams or just the news in general?
Well, let's start off with news and then we can move into scams.
Let's see. Nothing huge over the last couple of weeks. So was it Bored Ape Yacht Club? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
They have their own coin now. I'm not sure if it's an ERC20 token or if it's on another blockchain or if they created their own. So that had highs and lows, I think, of maybe $3 at the ceiling and maybe as low as 20 cents or less when it hit its floor. And I'm not sure what it's trading at today, but Bored Ape Yacht Club, they also gave away a bunch of tokens to NFT owners, making some NFT owners tens of thousands of dollars instantly. So I guess that's one of the perks of having spent, what does a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT go for? A couple 100,000?
Minimum.
Right. So a little bit of a return for owners. So that's something I'm following. I haven't bought in at all for the, I think it's called ApeCoin. I haven't bought any of that, but I'm monitoring it.
That's great. I'm curious to see, like, is this just a token? Is there any utility value to it, or is it just basically buy and hold type of thing?
I haven't dove too deep into it, but it seems like it's just a token at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah, I was reading in the news. I'm just trying to pull up the article right now. That there is this project where they voted to take away people's money. So the coin is called right here Juno. So in a tier one blockchain called Juno, basically one person created a bot to collect as many initial rewards as possible and put them into one address. So he was able to raise, I think, $1 to $2 million here, if I'm reading correctly. So this whale has like 50,000 of these tokens, right? And because he scammed the system, they have a governance board in this Juno coin. So what that resulted in, this governance board issued a vote, which all the shareholders of the coin decided to take away that 50,000 tokens in that whale's wallet. And that is one of the reasons why I say you have to carefully research whatever project you have, because you never know what controversy could fall upon you, and then someone could vote away your money. I don't think that should be acceptable. So yeah, that's what happened. And that's why you need to be careful out there.
Interesting stuff. So I just looked into it. ApeCoin is an ERC20 token, which is a token built on top of the Ethereum network.
Yeah. And just to go back on like that's one of the reasons people love Bitcoin specifically, is you avoid stuff like this, where someone's able to just vote away your money. In Bitcoin, that's impossible. There is no governance board. There's nothing they can do to take away money from your wallet. The only thing they can do with Bitcoin is they can restrict you at the exchanges, saying that, hey, we won't allow you to deposit here, or they confiscate it there. But other than that, there's nothing they can do about it.
Yep, that's right. And even if you can't exchange your Bitcoin on the exchanges, you can still find a buyer in real life who's willing to give you US dollars or just cash or whatever in exchange for, or even, property. Maybe they'll sell you a car or a house for your Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, because I think that one of the benefits of like cryptocurrency was the decentralization part. But I'm increasingly seeing that we're moving towards, governance based cryptocurrencies, which I think are actually worse than like fiat, because they could restrict what you can do with your money, right? Like, for example, if I have $100 bill, I can spend it on whatever I want, basically. But if there's governance of this crypto, they could restrict what I'm able to purchase. So I don't like that direction or that side of crypto very much. I think it's veering away from the original intent of crypto, in my opinion. Anyways, Andrew, scams. What kind of scams are there?
So one scam is ongoing, and I think everyone in Canada has probably been, targeted, and possibly in the States as well. I'm not too sure. So the way it works is that they'll call you, usually using an automated voice system, saying that it's either the Canadian Revenue Agency, which is the equivalent of the IRS in the United States, or they'll say they're the RCMP, which is the equivalent of the, I guess, FBI, or they'll say they're border services or some other government agency. And if you end up clicking pound or clicking one or something like that on your phone, it'll take you to a live telephone operator, which typically seems to be based out of India. And they'll tell you how that either you're overdue on your taxes or that you've been charged with some sort of crime or you're in trouble in some way. And I think for the majority of people, this is more of an annoyance. Not a lot of people fall for it, but sometimes if you're new to the country, maybe you don't speak the speak the language, or if you're an older person who, I don't know, maybe isn't too tech savvy and haven't really been a victim of scams in the past and just don't really know what's going on, you're more likely to fall victim to this. And they'll tell you that they can make it all go away. They can fix it all if you just go to, your local convenience store or wherever they have a Bitcoin ATM, deposit however much money, $10,000 or whatever you have, and send it to this address, and then it's gone forever, and your money's gone. So that's a very common scam. So the first step there is you get a call from an automated voice system saying they're from some sort of government agency. So if you ever get that, just hang up. Sometimes, at least in Canada, if you look at the phone number on your caller ID, the first three digits after the area code oftentimes seems to match your own. I don't know why they do that. I think they think that for some reason that makes you want to pick up more. For me, it's just a telltale sign not to pick up at all. I'm trying to think. There's another variation like that. I'll bring it up if the details come to mind. But another one is an employment related version. So typically, you will have had to apply for this job, or if you're on, say, LinkedIn or Indeed, and maybe you set your resume to be publicly viewable by employers or recruiters, they might contact you as well. And sometimes they'll go with a known company, or maybe they'll go with a company they made up. But the times I've encountered this, and from what I've read, it seems to be piggybacking off the name of a real company. So let's just say, for example, they'll use, I don't know, FedEx or something like that. So they'll have a job posting there saying something remote, maybe something for admin related. So maybe an admin assistant remote. You apply or they reach out to you, whichever way, and they'll actually interview you perhaps. They'll have a phone interview, maybe a really easy phone interview. You'll get the job. And one of the first duties they'll have is they'll say that they'll have you as an admin assistant or whatever the position is, maybe pay a supplier. And they'll say, well, that supplier is only taking cryptocurrency. So they'll send you in Canada, they'll send you an e-transfer, an email money transfer for, a few $100s or a few $1,000s. And they'll have you go to a Bitcoin ATM and they'll have you send it to an address, but you don't feel like you're being scammed because they sent you the money. And the way email money transfers work in Canada is that once the money is sent to you, it's actually in your account. There's no clearing, there's no holds. It's actually in your account. So you feel like you have nothing to lose. So you take out the cash, you go to a Bitcoin ATM, you put it in there, and then you send it off. And then that very well may be the last you hear of this employer. But in the background, what happened was this fraudulent scam employer, they scammed a second part, like a third party, another person. And what they did was they probably sent out a phishing attack. So they'll either have texted them or sent them an email, and usually a mass text or mass email to many, many people, and saying that, your bank account's been locked out. Please click this link to log in. So that third party logged in, put in their credentials. Now the scammers have it. Scammers went into that account, sent an e-transfer to you. So they're using you as a middleman so that they don't have to touch their account, so that nothing ever transacts to their account, so it can't be linked back to them. So that's another common scam from the employment world.
And how would this translate into crypto? So like specifically like NFT scams. Are you aware of any? Because like I know from my personal experience, like I can just give advice on how to avoid scams and NFTs. I think that there's three things to consider. Number one, get in touch with the owners of that project. So if there's a team or someone who's easily contactable and they have some clout, like if you go look them up on Instagram, they have a bunch of followers, a bunch of active. And it's not just that they have 20K followers you need to look for. You need to look for how interactive they are. So if they make a post and they have 100 likes, that's probably a scam. But if they have like 2,000, 3,000, and a lot of people are vouching for them, then I would say that project is a lot safer to invest in. Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, I think NFT scams are very similar to being scammed on maybe Kickstarter or Indiegogo, where they say they'll do something, you give them the money, and then they don't deliver it. So it could be either on Kickstarter, something like a product they say they're going to create, something, innovative. You put your money in, and they just never deliver. So it's kind of the same with NFTs, right? They might say that one or two things could happen: that they're either going to use that money towards some sort of project to buy, I don't know, buy something, and they don't come through, or alternatively, maybe they're selling you a piece of art or something, which maybe they don't have the rights to.
Exactly. And that brings me to the second point, which I think is important when you're valuing NFT scams, is how much other people are actually interested in this, right? If you're like the only one who's actually investing in this project, that's probably a scam. And if you're buying something on OpenSea and you see that there's very little activity on this account, there's no reviews, that's also a scam. It's all about trust, right? At the end of the day, if you can't verify that this person is trustworthy, I would say hold off on that investment. So the third thing, Andrew, I would say you need to look out for is unrealistic expectations. So let's say you're going to invest $100 in the NFT and they're going to promise, 100x return in 6 months. That's probably a scam because no one can guarantee that type of return. If you're investing in coins, you don't know if you're going to make that return. No one can promise that. Anyone in any NFT project is promising crazy returns like that is usually lying, and it's a scam 90% of the time, I would say. If you just just avoid that stuff, that should be out fine.
Yeah, that's true. And also be careful with I don't know, like new ERC20 tokens that come out. Apecoin's a little different. It has some recognition. I think it has probably the support of the Bored Ape Yacht Club team, but a lot of other coins that come out that have a lot of hype around it. If there's not a lot of utility behind it, maybe just take be precautious.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else I think to consider when you're investing in an NFT project is how long do you plan on holding it, right? If you're planning like on a short-term hold or flip, maybe you're better off, investing in something else than a project per se. What I define as a project is they're offering some sort of service. So they're pooling money to maybe invest, or they're offering some sort of product. I distinguish that from artwork and other sources. And I think it's important because if you're just buying artwork, you can probably flip that and maybe make a few bucks. But if you're buying these NFT type projects, you might have to hold longer to realize any type of return.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, those are a couple of things to watch out for in the scam world. So if you have some that you're aware of, or maybe if you've been scammed yourself or someone's attempted to scam you, let us know, send us a DM and we'll love to talk about it.
Absolutely. So let's move on to their second aspect of the show here, crypto winters. So essentially a crypto winter is when there's like limited trading or limited activity in the crypto space, and you're probably in a bear market. Some people argue we're in a bear market right now in crypto. I think it's weird. There's still enough of volume per se. It's dropped, but it's not like the previous bear markets. So some good investment tips when you're in a bear market. Number one, I think this is always stack coins. So things are usually cheaper. So buy more, invest in coins that you actually like, that you plan on holding, because short-term gains in a bear market, hard unless you're a day trader. So just keep stacking, buying. Another aspect is it's a great time to stake your coins because the returns aren't going to be low. You're probably not going to be buying and selling. So if you stake them, get a 10% return every year. Once the bull market comes, you can make a nice hefty profit. And I guess another thing to consider is you know, and get involved in the DeFi space. So what I mean by the DeFi space is, you know, how there's dApps and decentralized applications and Ethereum network. Start moving into those, seeing what the returns are like there. Because, you know, just investing coins, flipping them every week, it's not happening anymore. So you need to find specific niches, seeing where returns are still good if you want to actively invest. And like I said, the last option is just day trade, right? So buy low, sell high, you know, watch those candlesticks, and that's one option. Personally, what I've been doing in this bear market supposedly is I've been just stacking coins, you know, buying a little bit every month, staking them, and that's basically it. Next time there's a bull run, I'll probably sell like 10% of them, take some money out, recoup my investment, and keep doing that. That's going to be my strategy going forward. It doesn't mean you need to replicate it, but I've seen other people do it, and it's very effective. Every time Bitcoin has went up to a new all-time high, people sell 10%. And that recoups all the money you've probably invested over the last 3 to 4 years, and you still keep a hefty chunk of it in there. So what do you think, Andrew?
I haven't made any moves at all. The only thing I was gonna do this week or next week was I was gonna buy some precious metals just because of inflation and just uncertainty. So throughout the year I like to buy some precious metals, but especially now I was on a couple websites and it looked like all the larger bars of silver were all sold out. The 10-ounce bars and above were sold out for a little while. I think they've been restocked, and I think silver's gone up quite a bit since Dalbert, you and I first started buying.
Wow, we bought like when 2020, like 2 years ago now.
Yeah, this is not spot price. This is like retail bank prices, but I think we were getting I think $25 per ounce, and now they're about $40 per ounce Canadian.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's gone up quite a bit. I don't put a lot of money in silver, but it's just one of those things I like to stock up on just in case the world ends. You know,
Well, speaking of that, actually, like inflation is ripping through, right? And I think we've both seen, right, that interest rates are still ridiculously low while inflation is really high. So who knows what will happen? You know, governments are very much in debt. They're kind of stuck in a situation where if they raise interest rates, their deficits go up, right? And then they need to raise taxes, and then it causes a whole other issue. So who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. There's a good podcast I was actually listening to. It's called the Looney Hour. Andrew, I would recommend you check it out. It's he talks about like Canadian real estate and like the different debt cycles that we're in. So there's two lines of thinking here. Number one is that, you know, they could do what they did in the 1970s, jack up interest rates to match inflation, and then eventually it'll calm it down. Or what they did during World War II was they pinned interest rates and they let inflation run hot because we're in the middle of a war. So we'll see what happens. I think they'll probably do the first option. We're just going to pin interest rates, keep them low artificially, and because the governments are so much in debt on every level. We're not just talking about, people being in debt, but every single person in every level is massively in debt. So that's where I think the instability in the market comes from, and why crypto is popular and other alternative sources.
will any of those strategies that you just listed have an effect if they don't stop printing money?
Yeah, exactly. And how can they stop? That's the problem, right? Because if they raise interest rates, the revenues go down, right? And if the real estate market goes down, the revenues dry up even more. So it's tough to say what's going to happen, but they're kind of stuck right now.
But the root cause of the inflation is the printing of the money, correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, because you're creating more supply of money for a finite amount of goods. So economic theory says that those prices have to go up.
And the same thing is true for Bitcoin, right? And like cryptocurrencies. I mean, Ethereum, they've implemented some deflationary measures, but I think Bitcoin, there's only 21 million. So if you see currencies being devalued, printing more money constantly, you'll see Bitcoin constantly going up. because and not that Bitcoin is getting more valuable. It's that the dollar is actually going down in value. Peter Schiff talks about this all the time, right? When you, how much does the money supply increase in Canada? Something like 25 to 30%. That's, I think, the generally accepted number. So what does that mean? Let's say your phone costed $100 to buy. Now it's going to cost $130 because there's 30% more money in the market. That's generally what happens in these circumstances. So
Yeah, that's all.
yeah, so the what we're seeing, like with Bitcoin, the massive rise we've seen, I don't think it was all due to like the cycle of Bitcoin. I think it was partially due to the money printing that the government's doing.
If you want to learn more about inflation, definitely listen to Peter Schiff's YouTube or other podcasts. He pretty much every episode, I imagine, he talks about inflation, and for sure he's been talking about it for the past several years. I think he accurately predicted the 2008 financial crisis.
He
And
did.
yes,
He,
so right now,
yeah, he's calling right now for a what's it called? A sovereign debt bubble, which is basically that federal government has too much debt and that the currency is going to get devalued. That's basically his new theory.
my analysis of Peter Schiff is that the, you know, his predictions are correct, and or they will be correct, but I just don't think his timelines may always match up to reality. But I think, the trends that he predicts are correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we see what's going on, Andrew. Like what the government's doing right now. How sustainable is it? I don't know. I don't think it is. It needs something needs to give, right? Eventually.
Yes.
When will that happen or how it will happen? That's remains to be seen. But that's why crypto is beneficial, right? You're basically taking yourself out of the system and you are investing in something that that if a currency gets devalued, it doesn't really impact you too much. And basically, anytime there's high inflation and low interest rates, you want to invest in assets. I think that's clear. Whether that's physical or digital assets, it doesn't matter. You just need to own something that is finite, essentially.
Yeah, definitely diversify. So if you can put a little bit in crypto, um, I'd say put as much as you can in real estate. So that's keep, buying a property if you can. And if you can't do it yourself, then maybe team up with some people and get a rental property together. Maybe put it on Airbnb, or, maybe the easiest way, even if you only had like, a couple $1,000s, is just put it in the stock market, but put it in a REIT, put it in a REIT.
Mhm.
So that's another option too. And REITs usually have generally pretty high dividends, sometimes as high as like 10%. So, that'll match inflation plus the appreciation of the REIT. What is it? The REIT stock? Would you call it?
Yeah, it's like the REIT. I would also say you can do like ETFs or exchange rates, ETFs, so that are traded. You can buy those as well because those are broad market indexes, and they'll just track whatever the stock market is. So if inflation's at 5%, you should expect the stock market to at least match that, if not more. So
What
yeah.
I personally don't do is, and I think Dalbert is the same way, is in our checkings or our savings accounts, we only put what we need for emergencies, but anything beyond that, we'll put it in some kind of hard asset.
Yeah, like also what I do is like I like keeping more cash. I think I personally just prefer it. So I have, very little in my actual checkings, but I have a lot in my high interest savings account, which even though it's like 1.5% interest, who cares? At least you're getting something. So if inflation's at 5%, you're only losing 3.5%, let's say supposedly. So yeah, Andrew, I know you may make fun of me for that, but it's better than losing 5%, in my opinion.
Right. But you're not putting an excessive amount. You kind of just put what you need for emergencies.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for example, I lose my job, so I'm not out on the street, basically.
Right. But if you had, say, 100K to put somewhere, you're not going to put in your checkings or your savings.
No.
We do know some people like that, though.
I know many people like that. It's unfortunate, right? Because when inflation is like 6 to 7%, you basically divide your money. So if you have 100K, you divide it by 1.06. That's what it would be worth in a year from now. It sucks. That's how the system is.
I once worked at a bank many years ago, and there was a guy who had almost $1 million in his checkings account, like $950,000 in his checkings account. I'm like, you should really invest this. And he's like, yeah, I just haven't gotten around to it. I'll look into it. So
Yeah, it sucks for those people. And I think we need to address this, Andrew. a lot of people, are hesitant to invest in real estate because they think it is a bubble. And I say, yeah, it could be. Let's be honest, it could be. However, look at inflation, look at money printing, look at how much it costs to actually build a new house, right? In Canada, buying a piece of land just 300K in any major city right now. So you're telling me they're going to build affordable housing when price of land is just 300K, not to mention permits and everything else. This is why like crypto and assets are ballooning in value, is because of all these costs that are just soaring. It's not to do that things are, that people are greedy, that things are that people are greedy, that people want to, price gouge everyone. It's just everything has gone up.
Well,
And
it's gone up because of the extra money.
yeah. And
So
there's the governments are still running deficits too. It's not like they've stopped, right?
so listen to this. I bought an investment property this past September, so September 2021, for 500,000 in Southern Ontario. And it's only been what, 6 months? Where are we at? September, October, November, December, January, February.
Yeah.
So we're 7 months later, it's gone up 200,000 Canadian in 7 months.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's a crazy property, or it's I mean, I guess Southern Ontario, there are more people moving there perhaps from Toronto. But the big reason is just because there's a lot more money printed, and it just took a little while before before the inflation showed, or before the increased prices started showing. So we're seeing it now in food. We're seeing it in real estate for sure. So, there's always there's always like times where it's a little bit slow and people think, oh, that's when prices are going down. It's just a little lull before it goes back up.
Yeah, and we're starting to see it impact wages too. I know I was reading an article on CBC saying that wages are going up 3 to 4% this year. That's huge. Wages usually don't go up that much, and that's
How
why I
much?
said 3 to 4%. That's a big number, right? When you consider inflation to 5 to 6%, let's say supposedly, that means their gap's only -2, but 4% increase. If you're making 100K, that's 4,000. If you're making 50, that's another 2 grand. That's going to start adding up. But we've seen some industries like skilled trades. A lot of these people in these industries are making 6 figures now, right? So that's another reason why like everything is going up, is because anyone who has a skilled labor that's in shortage, like me and you, Andrew, we both work in tech. We've seen what's happened. Salaries have ballooned.
Yes.
And like I would say before the pandemic, getting a mid 100K salary in tech was very hard. Like before 2019, I'm talking. Now it's becoming the norm. So this trend of inflation, it happens, bottom down. That's the way I describe it. So it affects stocks and crypto first, because those are the most liquid assets. And then it starts trickling down. So it affects commodities next. Then it starts impacting, real estate. Then once all the factors are, then groceries. And then wages are usually the last thing to move. But then that's what happens. What we're going to see in like 5 to 10 years is probably, most people's salaries are going to go up 10 to 20%. And that necessarily won't be a gain. You'll just be catching up to inflation.
Right. And I think you were telling me before that if you compare, say, a house in Ontario to, I guess, to income, and if you look at a chart, the the income chart would be a fairly, I guess, steady slope, whereas the price of real estate would go up in an exponential,
Yeah.
like an exponential pattern. But if you compare the price of real estate to the price of gold in terms of ounces of gold per, I don't know, average property price, it's been pretty steady throughout history.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And yeah, we don't know where this will end, Andrew. All we know is crypto is definitely one of the safe havens to protect yourself, I would say, especially Bitcoin, because like that limited supply. And
Yeah. Aside from our mining, I still hold a little crypto, mostly Bitcoin. I don't hold a lot of the other stuff. So we mine, but then we reinvest that. But I do hold Bitcoin above all else.
yeah, and it's very interesting because what I've said is like profits haven't really dropped for Ethereum, but I think they've dropped in terms of real money because of inflation. So let's say if you're making 2 grand, but 6% inflation, if you're still at 2 grand, you technically your profits went down. So it yeah, it's a tough world out there. And I think crypto offers you one of those opportunities where you can actually, make a difference by protecting yourself even a little bit. Because, real estate, like Andrew said, it's pretty expensive investment. But crypto, you can put $100 in there if you can only spare $100. At least you have
Well,
something.
well, you can put $100 in real estate as well through a REIT. So if you do it through in the States, if you use Robinhood, or in Canada, you use Wealth Simple, which allows very small investments and no fees, or at least there in a way there is a fee. I think there's like a spread or something like
Yeah,
that
they
when
make
you're,
money on spreads.
but it's still probably cheaper than the fee in some circumstances. But you can go very low, so you can put, if there's a REIT that's $25 or something like that, you can go buy one of them, you can buy four of them. So
Yeah,
there are a lot of ways to get in without a lot of money.
absolutely. Yeah. So Andrew, what are your predictions for crypto this year? I know we made a call list. But how are you seeing Ethereum proof of stake? Do you see it happening this year?
What were they saying? Were they saying May or June or something?
June, I think.
No, I don't know. It's hard to say. We're
I,
biased though. I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but I really don't think it's going to happen. So, and I think if it does happen, then why would you use Ethereum? And now there's other, there's a lot of other platforms that have the same functionality that are also proof of stake, where the proof of stake is maybe a little bit more stable, like Cardano and AD. Wait, Cardano and AD are the same, aren't they?
yeah, they are. Polkadot's the other one.
Polkadot, right? So they're built to be proof of stake from day one. So there's less bugs, and then people apparently are even moving to Chia for free decentralized apps. So I think Ethereum is not the only player for decentralized apps, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's so popular, is because of the other functionality. But that's you can do that elsewhere.
Absolutely. Solana is another big competitor, I would say, at this point. And I think with Chia, we'll see what happens. The total size of the network has been dropping. So I think it was at a high at 35 exabytes. Now it's only at 28. So it keeps dropping. So what that means is the quantity of Chia you're mining is going to increase.
Right, and we're still mining it. So what's the I'm assuming Ethereum is still the biggest NFT blockchain, right? Or the
Yeah,
biggest who would you say is second? Is it Solana now, or
I think it is Solana
okay?
because there's some other smaller competitors, but I think Solana's its market share is growing because of the lower fees.
Yeah, so I think you're always going to have Bitcoin on top, and then you're going to have the second place be the most efficient for decentralized apps and for NFTs and for fees. So whoever can make that happen, eventually, I think that will always be the second largest in terms of market cap.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that say, zero fee coins are the future, but I always struggle to see how that business model makes sense. So I think there'll have to always be a fee. I just think it'll just be a very small chunk.
Is it because you need to incentivize people to either be a node or to mine or to
Yeah, you need to
participate?
incentivize people to participate, right? If you charge no fees, then people will just abuse the network, right? You can send as much as they want. You need some sort of mechanism to, limit erroneous activity, as I like to call it. Because Andrew, what's to prevent me and you from just sending money back and forth to each other constantly and flooding the network?
Yeah. Would that be the equivalent of a DDoS attack?
It could be. You could shut down the entire network doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, there are people who like to, I don't know, I guess altruistically participate in the network. For example, in Monero. So Monero is CPU mining, and it's usually very unprofitable. You'll probably lose a little bit of money unless you're not paying for electricity. And but there are people who are willingly losing a few cents every month or a few dollars every month because they believe in the network. So I don't know what percentage of people are like that, or of crypto enthusiasts are like that. But I know for Monero, there are a lot of people like that. I've read in forums that people are like, oh, I do it because I believe in the network.
Yeah, well, that's like a privacy coin, right? So basically, the ledger is hidden, so no one can actually publicly review it, and all your transactions, no one knows who or what they came from besides you, the recipient. or the sender. So that's why it's popular, especially with people who are concerned about their privacy. I would say it's a very good coin. Governments hate it, but for privacy purposes, I think it's the best thing out there right now.
There's other ones too. There's so there's Monero. There's I think Zcash.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably new ones being made all the time. There's also a chance that one of the new ones that come out may have a backdoor for government. So just keep that in mind.
Well,
It's
I
possible.
think the IRS had like a reward for anyone who can crack Monero to keep track of it.
Well, that's one.
I don't know if
that-
it's still up.
That's one strategy. The other strategy is they just make their own competitor, and that's another way to kind of I don't know, gather intel on people.
Is there
'Cause the same thing-
precedence on that?
There is for chat. So there's WhatsApp, there's Signal, etc.
Yeah.
There was a chat app made primarily, I think, to target criminals. And I think I read an article about this like several months ago. I think the FBI made a chat app, and criminals all over the world were using it, and all the while they're mining all that data and building a case against these people.
Oh my God.
So that there is a precedence for that.
That's crazy. Well, now I don't know what you can do to protect yourself. Download apps. Just make sure. I think just always assume that someone is watching you when you're using an app. I think that's probably the best scenario.
So if you're using Monero, but if you're still using it just for regular transactions, but you just value your privacy, but you're not trying to use it to evade the government or anything like that, then you have nothing to worry about. But if you are using it for sketchy purposes, then it's possible. We don't know who's watching it, or if there's a backdoor, or even if there wasn't a backdoor initially, maybe it has been cracked by somebody.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. So we have a couple of guests coming in the pipeline. One I think will be fantastic, and yeah, stay tuned. Exciting stuff is coming to this show.